Hi, my name is Naylor. In this video I'm going to talk about the most common keys for music. I'm also going to do a little bit of analysis on it, applying how to apply it to guitar so that you can find the most common scales and chords. I'm going to use data from a couple different sources. The primary one's from Spotify. They did an insights column back in 2015 written by Kenny Ning, in which they had a computer algorithm that analyzed all 30 million songs on their system and then determined whether they're in a major or the relative minor keys. So they listed the 24 top keys, and I'll put all the data below in the comments section so that you can reference it in more detail. Then I also took a couple Hal Leonard books, these white pages ones, which have 150 songs in each one, to try and get a little bit more of a guitar-centric perspective, because Spotify obviously includes music for all instruments and all genres. I also took a Warner Brothers equivalent to this called Greater White Pages. And then to get a little bit different perspective and see how it lined up, I took the Real Book, which is a jazz standards book, so that would be more likely written by horns or piano and not necessarily by guitar to some extent. The system I used was basically taking the key signatures written in. I didn't do in-depth analysis on these because each one of these books was already 1,000 pages and I didn't want to spend weeks doing this. But for the purposes that we're doing, I think it's good enough. On the rock songs, especially, and the stuff from the Hal Leonard books, most of the songs, if it's written in like the key of C, it might deviate for a solo or a bridge or an interlude or something, but it's probably in the key that it's originally written in. The jazz songs, that's a little bit less clear cut. A lot of them jumps keys constantly, and it'd be hard to even classify what key some of the songs are in. In fact, when I was going through that, some of the songs I just skipped altogether because I could clearly see that the key it's written in was not necessarily the key that is being played in to a large extent. But again, to get a general rough idea, I think it's close enough on it. And so let's jump into it. So the Spotify numbers, another down thing I changed on the Spotify numbers, and this again kind of draws some attention to where the algorithm might have some issues with it. It's only as strong as it's programmed. It didn't list any of the flat keys. Instead, if it was B flat, this says A sharp, E flat, D sharp, etc. So I'd put them into the more standard listings that they would be in when I'm listing the statistics. So the top 10 on that would be, it starts with G, and that had 10.7%. Then it goes C, D, A, D flat, F, A minor, A flat, E minor, and B minor. So one thing to notice is the first minor doesn't appear till the seventh one down. So the first six are all major keys, and I think that's fairly accurate. Most songs are in more often in the major keys on that. And then the three minors that do appear in the top 10, A minor, E minor, and B minor, are also the minors from the first three keys, G, C, and D on those. So that kind of makes sense. And so the next thing I did to see if it did change some of the orders is I combined the majors and relative minors together. So if you have like A minor in the key of C, they're both the same 7 notes. So it makes sense to not look at them necessarily as a separate thing, even though that is kind of interesting to do. So when combined together, the majors and minors, then the key of C became number 1. G, D, D flat, A, and F, if I look at just the first 6. So it's all the same keys in the first 6, but they changed orders to some extent. D flat and A switched positions, with D flat moving up, and C and G switched positions on it. But keep in mind too, these are minor differences. When combined together, the major and minor, the key of C was 15% of the songs, and key of G was 14.9. So there really isn't much difference between them. Now on Spotify, keep in mind that it's not going to be every genre being used equally on it. So obviously there's a lot of rock, a lot of pop, a lot of rap, a lot of different things. You're going to probably have less jazz and classical and some of the other styles on the Spotify. But again, since it's over 30 million songs, it I think still gives an interesting perspective on. Now on the Hal Leonard books, if you look at just the first six keys that are most popular, volume 1 was A, D, G, C, E, F, and volume 4 is G, E, C, A, D, F. So same six, but they jumped around quite a bit from volume to volume. So that just shows that because it's a much smaller sample size, only 300 songs, 150 in each book, the order that they're in will be determined a lot by what songs are specifically in that book. Is there a little bit more of country or blues or in one book versus another? But it was still the same six keys, and F was still number 6 in both of them, and the first 5 were the same. They just switched positions. When you look at the Greater White Pages, it's also still the same 6. The Greater White Pages, I'd say, is a little bit less. That's a Warner Brothers one, a little bit less guitar centric. A lot of the stuff in the Hal Leonard is very much it's stuff like Led Zeppelin, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Megadeth, things that have a lot of guitar playing. They're guitar orientated. But on Spotify or songs in general, a lot of times you have songs that might be fairly simple, just strumming some chords while someone's singing over it. And I think that's partially why C jumps up to a higher position, because a lot of those simple strumming songs are in C, while you might have these other keys in the Hal Leonard, like the A and G, that are a little bit less common in those open position strumming, even though G is still really common. So the Greater White Pages, the order did change. It became G, C, D, F, A, and E. C jumping up to second place, and F jumping out of 6th up to 4th. All right, so then when I looked at the real book, that changed things significantly. But before I go into that, let's go into this data a little bit more. So if I look at just those top 6 keys from those 3 guitar books combined together, it ends up being these 6 keys. So as you can see, no sharps, no flats, 1 sharp, 2 sharp, 3 sharp, 4 sharp. So all on the sharp side, except for one key that has a single flat in it. This makes sense, I think, because those keys are easy to play on guitar, relatively. When you go around the circle, each spot you go, you add 1 sharp, or in this direction, 1 flat. So when you go G, it's got F sharp. D has F sharp and the C sharp, so C sharp's added. A, you have the G sharp, and you still have the previous ones. Now, if you look at that in relation to like open chords and your open notes, which a lot of guitarists like to use, F sharp and C sharp, you still have all of your open notes available, because it's all natural notes other than those 2 sharps. When you get down to here, which again, F sharp is this key and C sharp is this one, so out of past the first 3 most common keys, because those are the 3 most common keys, both on Spotify and on the guitar books being combined. Then down here, you start in G sharp, which is a note that is an open note, so you're eliminating 1 of your open notes. Then you add D sharp, so you're eliminating 2 of them, but you still have your other 4. Here you're adding a B flat, which are changing to a B flat, so that eliminates 1 of your open notes also. Now, when you go to the flat keys and you look at those, B flat is added, E flat, A flat, D flat. All of these notes are open notes. So by the time you get to the second flat key with 2 flats, you've already eliminated your 2 E strings and your B flat. So 3 of your 6 open note strings you can't play anymore. Then you lose your A string, your D string, and your G string. So at that point, you have no open notes you can play. And I think that's why in guitar music you don't see these flat keys used as much. Now, the story changes when I looked at the real book. In the real book, the keys, top 6 were C, F, E flat, B flat, A flat, and G. But again, remember, that's probably mostly not guitarists, but horn players, piano players, and such. So when you look at that, then it's this line drawn right here. And that, from G down to A flat, those are the 6 most common ones in the real book. So if you're looking to learn jazz, you're probably better off to take that half. If you're looking to learn rock, then take this half of it. Now, if you notice, neither one of them includes these bottom three keys, because honestly, those just aren't very common. When I looked at the all 769 songs from the 4 books that I looked at, there was only 3 songs total using this key. Now, maybe some of our jazz songs shifted into that key for a period, but songs actually written in this key, there's only 3 of them on it. And this is why, too, the D flat didn't make a lot of sense. I know it's probably just maybe some other genre or instrument uses it, but the major and minors combined, D flat jumped up to 4th position in Spotify. For the guitar books, on it, there's only a total of 7 songs in D flat, and that's in 528 songs. The real book, it was the 7th most common. It had 12 songs in it. So, you know, it shows that when you get out of the guitar music, it becomes more popular. But for the 3 guitar books, it was number 11 out of the 12 keys on it. So not that important as a guitarist, I don't think. Even as a jazz player, it was only number 7 for the key. So it's still not one of the top keys. Okay, so now some of the other downsides with this data in general that could affect it a little bit, but again, I don't think it affects it so much it would change the key, but maybe just some of the percentages. Or if songs are written in some of the modes or exotic scales or other things, they only putting everything into the major or relative minor. So I don't know what they're doing if you had a song that was like in D Dorian, which is a minor mode, because if they're considering that as a D minor scale, then that would be under the assumption that it's the relative minor, and that would be in the key of F. But D Dorian is a minor scale in the key of C. So I don't know, some of the classifications might have got messed up when they're doing things that don't clearly fit into it's the major or the relative minor. Do they, because it's minor, put in the minor category, or do they put in the key that's from, actually, which would be, in this case, the D Dorian is from the key of C. Also, I don't know what on Spotify, when things are in multiple keys, how they would determine which key it's in. Because if a song changes between 4 keys, I don't know how they're actually determining which one it is. I don't know if they're taking percentages or counting measures, or how they're going about that. But overall, the statistics from the books I was looking at and from Spotify mostly lined up. So I think it's accurate enough for our purposes. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is how you can actually use this. So, if you look at, like, you're learning open chords or something, and you're looking at the top 4 keys, that's G, C, D, and A. And that's from the guitar books, but it's also, if you, again, leave off the D flat, it's also the top 4 from Spotify. Now, within those keys, there's only 6 major chords. A, C, D, E, F, and G. So if you leave off a B chord, and just play the natural notes as major chords, then you have all of your major chords in those 4 keys with just those 6 chords. Now, if you want to do the minor chords, and let's say you want to keep it simple, there's if you just did the key of G and C, which again are the 2 most common ones, then all you need is A minor, D minor, E minor, and B minor. If you want the other 2 keys, you'd add in F sharp minor and C sharp minor. But again, if you don't want to add in the sharp minors, if you're doing the key of G and C, 10 chords, you've got all of them. You can do all 6 majors for any of the 4 keys, and then you can add in either 6 minors or 4 minors, depending on what you want. Now, when we're looking at statistics too on here, if you're just looking at the top 3 chords, and let me sidetrack for a second. If you see these colors, that's what Spotify groupings did. The top 3 keys in Spotify was C, G, and D. So it's these 3 on the sharp side and the C, which is no sharps or flats. The next 3 4, 5, and 6 were the A, F, and D flat. The next 3 was the E, B flat, and A flat, the blue ones. And the purple, these 2 along with E flat, was the least common in the Spotify listings on it. Now, it's not equal at all, though. When you look at the most common keys, under Spotify, the top 3 keys, C, G, and D, actually is 42.8% of the total number of songs. And then, so almost half the songs are just in those 3 keys. And if you go to the top 6, it jumps up to 68.5% on it. Now, when you go to the top 7, it actually goes up to 76%. So at that point on Spotify, the bottom 5 keys are just 24% of the total number of songs. And for the guitar ones, it becomes even more drastic. The top 3 ones, again, C, G, and D, are 55% of all the songs from the 3 guitar books. And if you go to the top 6, that grouping that I showed earlier, from here to here, that's actually 88% of the songs in the books. So you've only got 88.1 to be exact. So you only got 11.9, about 12% of the songs in these other 6. And if you add in the B flat, which is the 7th most common in the guitar books, it jumps up to 91.8. So almost 92% of the songs are in 2 flats, no sharp third flats, or these 4 sharp keys. So again, when you're learning keys or learning scales on guitar, really sticking to these, unless you're, again, doing the jazz stuff. If your aim is rock, blues, any of that type of stuff, sticking to these will give you most of what you need. In the real book, again, the accuracy of that is a little bit off, but the top 6 keys for that was 92%. But they do jump around keys, so I think that has a little bit less meaning. I was telling you before, let's see. So I think that's the main points that I wanted to get to. So why don't we leave it at that? Check the comments for more details, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I can try and explain the details more. Thanks for watching.